Look how much African American communities have suffered under Democratic control. To those I say the following: what do you have to lose by trying something new like Trump? What do you have to lose?
It was radically bold speech. Nobody did that. Nobody spoke like that. And I'm glad he did. It worked. And for 4 years, African Americans in this country made huge advances in terms of economics, unemployment reduced. But now, with Joe Biden, it's back to business as usual. It is back to the same old junk. Joe Biden today went to historically black college, South Carolina State, where he bragged, he lied, and he pandered, all right? That's what he's been doing for 50 years. That's a hard habit to break. So he did all of that, and then also there was a lot of weirdness, too.
Don't you ever forget where you came from. That's your secret power. You understand? I've spoken over 140 heads of state since I've become president. You know what they all ask me? Is America going to be all right?
Angry, weird, the rage. Here's the pandering. Everything is just about to turn around. We're going to do, someday, so many great things.
We're expanding summer programs and job opportunities and other services to keep young people safe and set them up for success. We're helping formerly incarcerated people re-enter their communities. We're going to reinstate access to Pell Grants, job training, apprenticeships, proven pathways to a better life.
We're gonna. This is the pandering that Donald Trump was talking about back in 2016. Everything. They're just on the verge of doing something big.
Infrastructure law we just wrote and signed in the law, and that Jim did so much to pass. We're going to create better jobs for millions of people to rebuild our roads, highways, bridges, cities, small towns, rural communities. It means more opportunities for black businessmen, black contractors, black engineers, building black communities back to where they have to be.
The bragging, the lying, the pandering. This is Joe's, I don't know, muscle memory kicking in. This is really all he's ever done. For just 2 years, if you look at his resume, he had a normal life. 2 brief years after law school, before he ran for the city council in Wilmington. 2 years as a person who wasn't looking for campaign contributions, who wasn't asking for a favor, asking for a vote, asking for something, just 2 short years. This is what he does. The phoniness, the grandiosity, the silliness, it's so apparent now, it's really kind of funny and sad, too.
On police reform, I share the frustration. And I know the family well, George Family Justice Act and Policing Act. I know the family well.
He knows the family so well, the George Policing Act, that he can't really think of that family's last name, Floyd. How about this? Joe offering observations about how cops should do their jobs.
Why is a police officer showing up to the suicide threat, someone trying to jump off a building? We need more social workers there.
Cops show up, number one, because they're actually pretty good at it. They're very good at it. Talking people out of making a horrible mistake in horribly distressed moments. Cops have been doing this, really, since policing started. And oh, by the way, it's dangerous. You can't have social workers hanging off the side of a bridge, can you, while they're saving a life? And some of those jumpers, they try to take people with them. All right, Joe, you got that straightened out? Then the lying. Of course, with Joe, there's always lying.
I got started in politics because of the civil rights movement. I noticed some of you were looking at it. I thought you were wondering, how does he know the black national anthem? Well, because I sat in a black church after going to 7 o'clock Mass. I'm happen to be a practicing Catholic. At 10 o'clock on the east side, getting ready to go out and desegregate restaurants and movie theaters. And my state.
None of that's true. Practicing Catholic, maybe. It's something you don't brag about, by the way, but here's Joe telling the truth. Now, it was a long time ago. He did tell the truth that he had pretty much nothing to do with the civil rights movement.
During the 60s, I was, in fact, very concerned about the civil rights movement. I was not an activist. I worked at an all-black swimming pool in the east side of Wilmington, Delaware. I was involved. I was involved in what they were thinking, what they were feeling. I was involved, but I was not out marching. I was not down in Selma. I was not anywhere else.
Okay, and he also wasn't desegregating movie theaters in Wilmington. We know that about his record. We know he's lying. So, all right, we've seen some bragging, we've seen some lying, we've seen some pandering. But the thing is, Joe has real power. And when he comes up with ideas like this, we should be worried.
I directed every single federal agency in the United States government to promote access to voting, and each agency is heading and heeding the call. For example, the Department of Veterans Affairs is going to make it easier for veterans and their families to register to vote. You know why? Because we're going to use VA facilities, and they're going to open them up for everybody, and nobody's going to stop anybody.
He wants to be a huge, larger-than-life figure. He really does. He wants to show everybody that he's more consequential than Barack Obama. And to do that, he's going in directions he never did in his career. I mean, totally off-the-charts liberal. We're all seeing it. And then he's abandoned all of the corny little things he used to talk about that actually had some merit. He's jettisoned all of it.
It's always appropriate to question another man's judgment, but never appropriate to question his motives, because you simply don't know his motives. I never question another man or woman's motives. I question their judgment, but not their motives. You don't question another man or woman's motive. You can question their judgment, but not their motive. I learned that early lesson. It's always appropriate to question another man or woman's judgment, but never their motive. Once you question their motive, then, in fact, there's no way to get to go.
Well, he threw that out the window. Remember, Republicans are sick. They are sick. He's said this crazy stuff out loud. And everybody who disagrees with Joe Biden, and that's basically all of the Republican Party, racist, sexist, you name it, he's going to call you it.
We continue to confront the oldest and darkest forces in this nation, hate and racism. To the torches, those you ever think you'd see in the modern times. People coming out of the fields down in in Charlotte, Virginia, Charlottesville, Virginia, carrying torches and Nazi banners, screeching the most anti-Semitic and anti-black rhetoric in history. Hundreds and hundreds of them. And when asked, the guy who had this job before, when asked what he thought about it, he said, well, there's some very good people there. Hell, very good people. They're racist, they're fascist. And folks, that was 4 years ago. I never thought I'd see that in my career. The violent and deadly insurrection on Capitol Hill 11 months ago, on January the 6th.
Is this any way to unify the country, by the way? He has such little respect for us, and particularly for that audience, to look at them and lie to their face. Now, again, he's telling the Charlottesville lie that Donald Trump said that neo-Nazis were good people when he explicitly said the opposite. He did. And the mainstream media continue to ignore it. They even write books about this moment, and they don't tell the whole story. 2 seconds later, that's all they had to wait. Watch.
You also had people that were very fine people on both sides. And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
Condemned totally. Neo-Nazis, white supremacists, condemned totally. But if you tell that part of the story, well, what how do you benefit politically if you're Joe Biden. I think he could actually benefit a lot politically because he'd be living up to this sacred promise that he made all of us.
Today, on this January day, my whole soul is in this, bringing America together, uniting our people, uniting our nation.
His whole soul. That's the problem. I'm not sure he has one. There's something very, very wrong with this person. And he just lectured a bunch of black people about how much work he did on their behalf. Let's get a peek into what remains of Joe Biden's soul.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking.
But I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
That's out and out racism. And today, an out and out racist got an honorary degree from a historically black college. What an interesting country. What a sad moment.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.